Hey Grand Adventurers, welcome back. I'm your host, Mark Guido, and we're spending this week in Puget Sound off the coast of Seattle, where we're going to do a little bit of exploring, some RV camping, and even do a little sailing on Puget Sound itself. So come along. Once again, we find ourselves taking our RV aboard a ferry to reach our destination. This time it's the massive motor vessel Walla Walla, a 400-foot vessel in the Washington State ferry system that will save us several hours of driving, including the hassle of towing through downtown Seattle, by transporting us from Edmonds to Kingston, Washington. That alone makes it well worth the $147 investment for the roughly 30-minute crossing of Puget Sound. Our change of plans to move west to the Cascades to avoid the smoke from wildfires burning in Canada has largely served us well, although one can clearly see smoke from the Bear Gulch fire in the Olympic Mountains hanging in the distance to our west. Just 15 minutes or so from the ferry landing in Kingston, we arrive at our hometown for the week in Poulsbo, the smallest of the 4 cities in Washington State's Kitsap County. Home to roughly 12,000 residents, Poulsbo was founded in the 1880s on the shores of Liberty Bay by Norwegian immigrant Jorgen Eliassen, who was joined by other Scandinavians who relocated from the Midwestern states. Until World War II, many Poulsbo residents retained Norwegian as a primary language. However, during World War II, the military housed workers from the nearby Puget Sound Naval Shipyard in Poulsbo, nearly tripling the population and allowing English to dominate. Even today, this beautiful small city maintains a Scandinavian theme to honor its early immigrant history and is a popular regional tourist destination. One thing just north of Poulsbo that we found absolutely fascinating is the Hood Canal Floating Bridge. Built on floating pontoons, because the water is too deep to make bridge pilings practical, it's the third longest floating bridge in the world, serving as a vital link for local residents, freight haulers, commuters, and recreational travelers, connecting the Kitsap and Olympic peninsulas. In 1979, the bridge failed catastrophically in hurricane-force winds, as the hatches on the pontoons of the bridge's western half blew open, allowing them to fill with water and sink. Temporary ferries were put in place until the bridge reopened to traffic in 1982. There are few RV camping options in Kitsap County, and none are inexpensive, so pickings are slim. Most, too, are dominated by thick tree cover that would render our Starlink useless. So we've set up for the week at Cedar Glen. The primary RV park at Cedar Glen sits on the south side of Washington Route 305, just east of Poulsbo, near the bridge over Agate Pass to Bainbridge Island. There was nothing available here for the entire week. However, the same owners have a mobile home community across the road, which includes 8 more RV spaces in the very back, far away from any highway noise. And this is where they placed us. Our 50-amp full hookup site here cost us $450 for the week, plus tax. We'll have much more of the Puget Sound area coming right up, including Bainbridge Island, sailing with friends on Puget Sound, and a U.S. Naval Museum of Underwater Operations, right after we take a quick ad break, so stay tuned. A short bridge across Agate Pass separates our campground from Bainbridge Island, just a few minutes away. Bainbridge Island is connected by ferry directly to downtown Seattle, making it an enviable bedroom community for the city's workers, separated by Puget Sound from Seattle's urban hustle and bustle. It's only a 35-minute ride across the Sound to Seattle's downtown core for Bainbridge Island's 25,000 residents. In 1792, English explorer Captain George Vancouver spent several days with his ship HMS Discovery anchored off the southern end of Bainbridge Island, while boat parties surveyed other parts of Puget Sound. In 1841, U.S. Navy Lieutenant Charles Wilkes visited the island while surveying the Pacific Northwest, and named the island after Commodore William Bainbridge, commander of the frigate USS Constitution in the War of 1812. The Suquamish tribe relinquished their claim to Bainbridge Island with the signing of the Point Elliott Treaty in 1855, in exchange for a reservation at Port Madison and fishing rights to Puget Sound. Of particular interest to RVers, pickleball was invented on Bainbridge Island in 1965. the Peacekeeper is one of 5 giant trolls across Washington state created by Copenhagen-based artist Thomas Dambo. She's an 18-foot tall troll made from recycled wood residing in Bainbridge Island's Sakai Park. Bainbridge Island's proximity to both Seattle and our campground has enabled us to reconnect here with our friends Colleen and Jeremy, who live aboard their 1980 Cal 39 sailboat in Seattle during the warmer months, then relocate to their ski condo in the Cascades in winter. They've sailed across Puget Sound to socialize with us for a few days, tying up at the city dock on Bainbridge Island. Our grand adventurers may not realize that our first RV of sorts was a 1984 Hunter 34, the sailing vessel Drive South, back when we lived on Florida's Gulf Coast. But it's been 20 years since we sold her and moved away, and we haven't had the chance to sail since, until now. But today's weather looks to be perfect, so we're heading out on Colleen and Jeremy's sailing vessel Nirvana for a few hours on Puget Sound. Our friends have pressed me into service as a deckhand. After a couple of decades, I'm fairly rusty, and Nirvana's rigging is somewhat foreign to me, but that muscle memory is slowly coming back. Now outside the channel leading to Eagle Harbor on Bainbridge Island, we've shut down the diesel and flown the sails as the winds slowly begin to pick up. Today's wind is increasing nicely and it's straight out of the north, the perfect direction for a broad reach directly to downtown Seattle. After a couple of truly wonderful hours, we're back at the channel to Eagle Harbor. We've doused the sails to steam back into port. Now back on the dock, Colleen couldn't resist the opportunity to try my eddy line Fathom. So she's paddling around the harbor wearing a huge smile. We'll visit the U.S. Naval Undersea Museum just across Liberty Bay from Poulsbo, right after we take another quick ad break to pay the bills. So stay tuned. There are numerous U.S. Navy facilities throughout Puget Sound, such as here at the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard in Bremerton, which has operated continuously since its establishment in 1891. Employing some 15,000 workers, it's the Pacific Northwest's largest naval shore facility and one of Washington State's largest industrial installations. Another installation is right in the tiny village of Keyport, home to 500 residents just across Liberty Bay from Poulsbo. Its nickname is Torpedo Town, USA, as it's also home to the Naval Undersea Warfare Center, tasked with ranging and repairing torpedoes. On the grounds of the station, the United States Naval Undersea Museum is one of the 10 Navy museums operated by the Naval History and Heritage Command, where we're greeted by the 55-ton sail of the nuclear fast-attack submarine USS Sturgeon. This museum combines naval history, undersea technology, and marine science through over 20,000 square feet of exhibits that interpret the ocean environment, the development of undersea weapons technology, U.S. submarines, and Navy diving and salvage. That constitutes the largest collection of naval undersea history and science artifacts in the United States. Artifacts here include U.S. torpedoes from the Whitehead and Howell designs to the modern Mark 48 and Mark 50 weapons, a Confederate mine, and torpedo tubes from the ballistic missile submarine USS Tecumseh. Other noteworthy items include the deep submersibles Trieste-2 and Mystic, the deep submergence rescue vehicle that was used for the film The Hunt for Red October, and a recreation of the control room of the USS Greenling, using the actual equipment and consoles removed from the attack submarine when it was decommissioned. Admission is free. The town of Gig Harbor has become a popular tourist destination near the head of the Kitsap Peninsula. During a heavy storm in 1840, Captain Charles Wilkes brought the captain's gig, a small boat, into the harbor for protection. Later, with the publication of Wilkes's 1841 map of the Oregon Territory, the shelter bay was named Gig Harbor. Commercial fishing, boat building, and logging dominated the economy of the Gig Harbor area, which developed two business districts in the 1920s on opposite sides of the harbor. Although a substantial fishing fleet remains here, to harvest salmon in Alaska, the town's fortunes have largely shifted to tourism. Ferries once transported passengers between Gig Harbor and Tacoma, but automobiles had to drive 107 miles around through Olympia. That was set to change in 1940 with the opening of the first Tacoma Narrows bridge, at the time the third longest suspension bridge in the world. Workers nicknamed the span Galloping Gertie for the way its deck moved vertically during high winds, but despite efforts to dampen the oscillation, only 4 months after opening, the bridge collapsed catastrophically in only 40-mile-per-hour winds. Fortunately, the only death from the accident was a stranded three-legged Cocker Spaniel named Tubby. The ferries continued for another decade before the first modern-day bridge was completed in 1950. We'll be crossing the Tacoma Narrows Bridge ourselves as we leave Puget Sound en route to the site of next week's grand adventure, the Columbia River Gorge. We sincerely hope that you've enjoyed this grand adventure from Puget Sound. If you liked this episode, it is extremely important to us that you give us a huge thumbs up down below. And while you're down below, that's where you'll find the comment section, where we love to hear from you each and every week, because we premiere a new grand adventure every Wednesday evening right here. So if you're not yet a grand adventurer yourself, there is no better time than right now for you to go smash that little subscribe button right down there in the lower right hand corner of your screen, and ring that notification bell to be sure that you never miss a grand adventure. We'd also be honored if you shared the channel with your friends, family, and on social media. We're going to get packed up here and head off to the Columbia River Gorge. So until next week, please remember, life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you then.